Good afternoon, everybody. This is called the Graveyard Shift. 2 after the lunch break and 1 before the coffee break. It's a personal pleasure and a professional delight to actually have such a wide array of subject matter experts from different geographies and parts of the industry. We're going to sort of try and attack an often discussed phrase of digital innovation. It means many things to many people. But before we get into the serious stuff, maybe we can wake up this audience, and maybe I can start with you, Mike. Tell me something about yourself which is not on your LinkedIn profile that this audience would love to know.
I couldn't afford to have a gap year when I came out of university, and I was always really jealous of the people who went off and did the traveling thing. So I did it when I had a midlife gap year. And so I did the traveling, did a big motorbike trip, which was obligatory at that time for middle-aged guys. And then I decided that I would do something completely different. So I ran a yacht brokerage for a year and a half because I love sailing and I love boats. But what I found through 18 months of running a yacht brokerage was I don't necessarily gel so well with the people that can afford to buy the big boats. I prefer to do the sailing. So I came back to video games.
Fantastic. Francis?
Difficult. So, as you may be aware, it may sound very typical, but I love doing a lot of sports, and I think I have been practicing more than 20 different sports in my life because I've been trying what I was good enough just to be a professional athlete on, and sadly, I wasn't good enough for any of them. And right now, I'm just doing my regular heavy lifting just to keep me in shape and staying younger as long as I can.
You can tell he's the only person on stage without a jacket.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of nice. Yeah. So I understand the reason why. Definitely not me. Imran?
Everyone know me as an ex-footballer, but after I quit playing, I started to discover like playing tennis, pickleball, paddle, and I love doing water sports. Jet car in Dubai. So I'm based out in Dubai. So every weekends I just go for the water sports, paddle, pickleball, tennis, apart from football. So that's another phase of mine.
Side of you. Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. Nacho?
Nacho, well, I'm a strange Spanish because I'm based in Madrid and I don't support Real Madrid. I'm based in Madrid and my favorite sport is not football. It's paddle tennis. So
there you go.
I play paddle every week. So.
Wow. Excellent. Good. Now that we have the audience's attention, digital innovation. Maybe I can start with you, Nacho. What does that mean for you as an industry leader, and what does that mean for your organization and clients? 30 seconds.
At the end of the day, is how we can provide proven technologies to our clients that are meaningful for the users, and how you find a balance between those technologies and what is useful for the fans in these days when the demand of data and content is real time. How you can find this mix, because it's not just to have the right technology, the right tools. It's just to make it happen in the right timing.
So what struck me was clients and fans.
Yes.
So customer centricity, very important. You sort of work backwards from that.
But you need to keep in mind always that you have two clients now. You have your traditional client, but also you need to serve the fans.
Right. So you're a B2B business, but you have a B2C relationship as well.
You become a B2C.
And that's an important piece. Fascinating. Mike, as somebody who's spent your time in gaming, and what's your sense of digital innovation? Because gaming by definition is digitally native.
It is, and for us, a lot of the time that we spend is creating content, creating experiences and events for people to be part of. And so for us, we're always looking at ways that we can make those events more engaging for both the fans who are in the venue, but also as importantly, and if not more so importantly, those who are watching streams and consuming that content around the world. And so historically, that was very much almost a closed ecosystem where we were creating the content and it was going. But now it's much more of a partnership with the publishers, where we're actually creating experiences that go right into the games. So it's not just the stream that is consumed, but it's much more of an engaging experience.
Okay, so again, you're using the word engagement, but what you're saying is become a 270, 360 dimension, because it's digital, physical as well. And geographically,
Very much
It's
so.
far more diverse, and digital is enabling that.
Yep.
Imran, for somebody who spends a lot of time playing sport in the physical, analog environment, what does digital innovation mean for you and your organization?
See, as Tamiran FC, the first thing when I started this club 5 years back, there have been Instagram, YouTube, see a lot of social media platforms. So we want to have our community, Tamiran community throughout the world, to get engaged in one platform, but not be differentiated in multiple platforms. So we created our own app. So where our community, our club members are there. Now we have more than 1.2 million members in our app, and we engage our fans, get connected. See how like we like in Instagram, like all social media platforms at one place, where like we keep on updating our fans that this is what happening in the club, this is what happening in the academy, when's the matches are happening, what's going on. So apart from that, see from India, you know, Tamiran, globally the community is present. So we want to connect with the fans emotionally as a brand, as a club. So we got them a platform for our club through our app. So where now we have reached for 1.2. So in a couple of years we are looking forward for engaging more fans through that, and also through the league especially.
It's fascinating what you say. I think, you know, you spoke about customer centricity, you spoke about engagement, you brought up the word community,
Yeah.
which I think is a very important piece as well. Where's in terms of visualization of real estate, in terms of digital innovation, we were speaking earlier, and maybe you can talk about the announcement today, which is something you've been talking about the last 5 years. I mean, when you talk to your team, when you pitch to a client, what's that lens?
So for us, innovation means everything because, as you said, we come from a particular business that it's considered like very traditional, and being ahead of the curve, it's very, very important. So you need to be innovating constantly and being able to generate what we call assets, or generating, we work with stadiums a lot. So converting those stadiums into an asset, a living asset that you can use for many different purposes, this is what drives our, the way we see things. So creating an asset that is innovative enough to be able to plug it with different verticals, that's what it's important for us. One thing is video games, another thing could be real estate, another thing could be fan engagement, another thing could be, I don't know, planning and all of that. So for us, innovation means everything. And as Nacho said, this needs to be connected with partners. If you don't connect with your partners and you don't give them this B2B channel is not fully covered, you are not going to be able to reach out to your customers. And that's the most important thing for us.
Okay, so if you sort of take a step back, large system integrator, large on-ground, online entertainment brand, large ethnically, linguistically defined community in Tamil, and a design studio agency business. Now, Steve Jobs famously said, you know, if I'd ever done market research or product sampling for the iPhone, it would never have happened. His view was that research should not underpin innovation. And there's a counter argument to sort of say insight and intuition have got two different pieces. How do you go about sort of thinking through a customer experience, whether it's a sales pitch or a finalization of an actual stadium? Where's your thinking at between, to what extent is it science, to what extent is it art?
So for us, everything is attached again to, we need to put ourselves in the shoes of the partners first, right? So once we understand what are their goals and what do they want to achieve, then we can start understanding how to innovate for them. And let me give you an example. So when I think what a partner needs, so during lunch, we were talking to a few friends that we knew, as I like to say, from other lives, and they are now doing different business. And for instance, they said, hey, show me what you're doing right now. And in the end, if you want to simplify it a lot, we do venue twins. But what can you do with this venue twins? We were talking with him, and he's doing tracking systems. And he said, hey, we are building virtual replays, and we can do here and that. So is there a way that we can integrate both worlds? Yeah, sure, there is. But is there a way that you can just plug directly what we have? No, you need to adapt it, you need to tweak it, and you need to prepare it just to be pluggable with that. So that's how we do our research, So one thing is, can we plug our stuff to virtual replays? Yes. Can we do it with ticketing? Yes. Can we do it with fan engagement? Yes. Is this something that we can connect with the metaverse? For sure. But in the end, you need to have that touch and that sense, which is something that you are going to get only talking to the partners here. For instance, I'm going to learn from the video game industry. I'm going to learn for the integrators. I'm going to learn for the guys that are touching the real market. So for us, this is the real research that we are not going to do. They are going to tell us in reality and in first person what is the most important thing that we need to achieve.
That's a great answer. Allow me to double click on that a little bit in the context of stadiums and sports real estate. Now, I was at a conference last month, October, the Stadium Asia conference, and Brett from Populous was talking about the fact that the stadium is actually the queen bee, but is a loss leader. The precinct actually ends up making the money and the cash flow. So let's dig a little bit deeper. And what does insight vis-a-vis intuition mean for you when you're looking to balance both? Because like a donut, right? The middle is important, but the outside makes the cash flow. Give us a bit of an example of maybe of how you go about looking at the economic rigor, but also the ergonomic design of it.
Yeah, sure. So let me give you an example with a new construction. Okay, so if a club is building a new venue, so you go there, and in the end you are going to digitize this venue because they need to do certain things. One is they need to communicate that venue. And normally you have the final build, 2-3 years in advance. So you communicate that venue, you promote that venue, but then you need to sell that venue. So you need digital tools to be able to start selling their premium spaces or to promote whatever it is. Then you have another channel, which is naming rights or logos or sponsoring or whatever. So you can do that. After you have all of these and they start selling the venue and the venue it's opened, then you need to have other verticals like, hey, how do I sell my seats? How do I sell my VIP boxes for the matches? So you tie it to ticketing, but at the same time, you need to know how to load and unload your stadium. So there are safety things, planning, and all those issues. Apart from that, then you have other, let's say derivative points. What if tourists come to home? How do you prepare the experience? How do you guarantee that this experience is good enough? What happens if I need to sit 300 people at the same time for a particular event? How do you resolve that? So all these digital tools is, as you said, we have one centric thing that is the stadium, but then we have a lot of surrounding partners and surrounding services that are going to cover that. And the most important thing is, how do you connect this with the audience that is not in the stadium? Because maybe you have 80,000 people that can go to the stadium, but maybe you have 80 million fans that are spread around the world. How do you connect them and how do you make them interact?
Fascinating. So let me sort of take it across. Now, Nacho, Francis is lucky in the sense that a client is a landlord more often than not. A lot of, that was a diverse bunch of things, but a lot of what you're doing around major events is you go to a host city, you build the ground up, and then within 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you disassemble it and you move on. And the lead times are quite large, multiple sports, multiple venues. Again, similar to my point around stadium vis-a-vis precinct, how do you look at multi-locational 25, 30 summer games as opposed to, say, a Milan Cortina, which is a different piece? Where's the research piece, the insight piece, and where's the intuition and actually the fan experience? How do you balance those two out?
It's not and, it's not or, it's and. You need to balance both. And if we compare of what we designed the events not too long ago and now, I will highlight the flexibility that you need to put to give space to the evolution of the technology. A couple of years ago, the technology landscape was stable, and you could set up a baseline quite stable for your events, no matter if we were talking about in and out or long-term base events. But now you need to be super flexible and be ready for what Fran said, that you need to be flexible for any kind of event, no matter if we are talking about sports, because in most of the arenas right now, they are combining sport events with other events. And you need to have that flexibility to adjust your system and solutions to this moment. So, and the evolution is going to be even quicker.
This is such a wonderful sort of panel. He gave me something to take to Nacho. Now you've spoken about sports stadiums having other events like esports events. What's your sense in terms of when you are taking a circus into town? Because a lot of, you are the circus which comes into town. It may not necessarily be at a venue which is owned and or operated by you. More often than not, perhaps not. What's your sense? What's the conversation? Two questions. What's the conversation like with the venue owner? And what's the sort of conversation and the deviation from the mean with your team, with venue A vis-a-vis venue B vis-a-vis venue C?
For the World Cup, we have the luxury that we're operating some of the venues here in the Kingdom. They were built bespoke for the World Cup. And so that was a little easier because we got to spec it. The challenge with that was that they were built in about 12 weeks, which is crazy for a semi-permanent structure, which we'll be using for the next few years until new locations come on stream. And so that was a challenge in itself, because literally the venues were being finished off and commissioned as we were running the opening ceremony. So there was quite a lot of stress and challenge there. But we also leveraged a whole host of other venues, and we will next year as well as we expand the scale of it. And so there we're really looking at tailoring the venue for the experience that we want to achieve. And the first key consideration for us is capacity and the type of event that we want to create. And so what's really unusual was, historically we used to think about, okay, can we fill a 30,000 seat? Can we fill a 10,000 seat stadium? And that was it. And it was a singular stage and a singular experience, because it would run for 2-3 days and then it's done. What's unique about what we're creating now is we're running for 8 weeks. We have more than 20 games, and we're constantly running different tournaments. So what we're looking at is this real patchwork of experiences that we can create that engage people over a very extended period of time, but using the same infrastructure. And so we have the ability to dress it in different ways. We have the ability to run different types of engagement moments where we can attract people back in again. So it's a very, very different environment from the one that we've had previously, but we've not run this kind of multi-IP, multi-week type of experience as we are with the Esports World Cup.
I'm tempted to ask, you were saying that the paint hadn't dried and the opening anthem was being sung. What's the thing which sort of kept you up the night before, apart from the paint not drying? What was the lens you were looking at? Was it more, it's a promoter? Is it more the fan? Is it more the player? Is the world's media? I'm sure it's all of them, but how, at the core, what's your priority in terms of what you're trying? Because what you're doing is very unscripted, very unprecedented, but has a very high quality threshold.
Yeah, the choreography was the thing that kept us up at night. And that's what the team who ran it this year as an inaugural experience had a few months to prepare, which is incredible, with all of the publishers that they were able to bring on board, the venues being constructed, everything happening within a very short time frame. So that was one thing, but then being able to choreograph it. We have the luxury in that we've got 12 months to plan for the next one. So there will be challenges 100% next year, because we look to grow, we look to expand. But the one thing that we definitely are working on, and I literally just came from a meeting starting to talk about run of show now rather than in June, 2 weeks before the event starts.
Look, I'm a bit of a geek, so I'm going to dive into the tech a little bit more. That's not to say that digital innovation is about tech. Tech enables, and then the experience is core. Get that. Let's sort of look at the pandemic, 2021-22. Digital payments went up. Very few telcos went down, so 4G connectivity was very much established. Device penetration was there. We're almost opening a new decade where the models, the expectation from the consumer, the expectation from the partner are quite different. And if you dial that forward another 4 to 5 years, 5G's begin to come in and everything is becoming quite seamless. You mentioned about how technology evolves very fast. Talk us through what's the sort of good thing about the events you've done post-pandemic, which wouldn't have happened had it not been for the concentrated evolution of digital during the pandemic. Is there any examples which come to mind? I'll leave it to the panel.
Yeah, let me go first on this one. So I was actually at Nike when the pandemic hit, and so I was running digital innovation for Nike and digital activity. And one of the things that was really interesting for us, because we were, same as everyone here, we were all remote, and one of the things that we were looking at was, okay, how do we help people? And mental health was a really big part of that. And one of the things that we we had as a ritual was we would always run as a team. We would go out every week. We would run with the coaches, with the whoever was in town. We would get out there, and so being able to create content. And so basically, we accelerated the creation of content that would help people go out and run and have a story, have an experience in their headphones that would give them that sense of community, give them that connection to other people. And so for us, the innovation was content, either making it free, which we did as well, took paywalls away, but also creating new content pathways to help people fill a void that was there and have that connection. And we've seen that continue, and that's continued to evolve. And when we think about the consumption of content, there was a lot of gates that were in that consumption of content. And what we've seen is this a lot of liberalization when it comes to content streams and content availability, and giving the communities access to content to create their own pathways. And so that for us is something that's a new way of us thinking about, okay, we're not broadcasting, and our relationship is with a linear broadcaster. Our relationship is with a linear broadcaster, but also with streaming channels, also with influencers who are delivering that content as well. So that's been for me personally and us, that kind of evolution.
It's interesting what you're saying, because obviously there was the historical, I produce and you consume. Now what you're saying is a bit of a hash.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's on demand and live, and it's multiple screens. Imran, what's been your sense coming out of the pandemic for the franchise, for the community? What is it that you're doing today that you wouldn't have assumed you could be doing 4 or 5 years ago, but the rapid change has allowed you to do so?
So we started Tamil FC in the year of 2018. It's been 6 years now. So when we started, our vision was to concentrate on the grassroots and youth development. Set up our academy, have a good commercial model, good revenue through our football schools, our residential academy. And it was going really well until the pandemic came. But after the pandemic, things changed. It was eye-opening for our club. So because our residential academy has been fully with the players and all those stuff, then we changed the total structure. Football in neighborhood. So you want to play football? We went to all the towns, all the cities, all the metro cities, villages, where we can give football training for the grassroots and youth development players. So that gave us an immense outcome for our club, good revenue on commercials. Then we started to come out of the country. As an academy, we jumped into UAE. Now we have 3 to 4 academies in UAE. Now next year we are planning to get our commercial academies in Saudi Arabia as well, and Malaysia, Singapore. So as an academy, we want to make it a sustainable project. As now in 2026, we are getting into a club with the vision of getting into the Club World Cup in next 10 years. And see, in Indian football, every Indians want to see India in the World Cup. That's our dream, okay? To make that dream come true.
You mean the Football World Cup, not the Cricket World Cup?
Yeah.
Just be sure, okay.
So, the Football World Cup. So, it's a long way to go for the Indian football. So, as a club, when you have a vision, when you have a right pathway, so we thought that's possible. So, first we want to be in the top of the league in India. Then, the next 5 years, we want to be in the top of the league in the Asia. Then, think about the Club World Cup. So, that's how the things are working. But post-pandemic, we never thought coming out of the country as a club, as an academy. But the market in Middle East gave an opening for our academy. And we are making the triple, the commercials, the revenue, what we're making in India in GCC countries.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great. Nacho, you've been in this game a long time. I'm looking at London 2012. I still remember, at that time, websites were a thing. And then Tokyo happened, which is quite different. And then, of course, you've now got sort of on the back of Paris. And what was noticeable about Paris that you felt was over the odds to what you'd expected, or even Milan Cortina going forward?
Well, if getting your first question about pandemic, and because we need to be in that moment when the world stopped. Yeah. And at that moment, we were in the preparation phase for Tokyo and Beijing at the same time. So, and we needed to continue. So the first thing I will highlight is the change of the mindset of the people. thanks to the communication tools. And in our case, it was the virtual twin, the digital twins for the venues. It helped us to continue all the preparation works, and we were able to integrate all the IT for these two Olympic Games. And then, from my point of view, the ticketing platforms, they have now, we don't have any question that they are always 100% digital. But before that, in some specific markets, we were still, working on physical or a mix. Now, no one questioned this. So this, for me, is the main change after the pandemic.
The connectivity was
but the ticketing now, from the user point of view, you don't expect to have a physical ticket anymore.
Yes.
So
yes.
And this was due to thanks to the pandemic, because the mindset of the people, we all have to change.
It's fascinating. Coming on the flight from Singapore, I gave my jacket to the air crew, and she said, "Can I have your boarding card, please?" And I didn't have it, and then it became, "What seat number are you on?" And all that.
Yeah.
You can pick it up on the way out, so no longer coming to me. But the whole workflow changed simply because of no boarding card. What's your sense, Francis? I'm talking about the pandemic. Where did you see it went from there? And
I'm going to pick it up where Nacho left it, because it's interesting. I remember at that particular moment in time, obviously we were working for all the event organizers, ticketing platforms and all that, and it was late 2019, early 2020. At that time, we were a company of 50 people, and I remember all my clients calling me and saying, "Hey, you know what? We're not going to pay you this month or this semester or whatever." And we said, "Okay, so how are we going to survive?" Like everyone that was in this industry, right? And I remember talking to my co-founder, who is here, and we said, "Hey, what do we do, man? So do we start firing people? What?" And instead of that, I remember that we took, I believe, the right decision, which is first of all, which is nothing related to this, we incorporated a coach, an internal coach, to take care of everyone in the company, because everyone was at home. One had a problem with his cat, that the cat was sick. Another one had a problem interacting remotely with someone over the chat because he's telling me something that maybe he was rude or not. So we tried to solve this first. Once we had this sorted out, we started trying to figure out, hey, again, going to your point about innovation, what can we do with what we have right now to survive? And I remember creating a digital service to calculate social distance for our clients. And during that period, we were able to connect with more than 100 clients that weren't paying attention to us because they were not interested in our service. But suddenly, they saw that we had something that was very valuable. We were able to calculate in seconds with a very simple 2D map how your layout will look like and how you were going to load and unload your stadium. Thanks to that, and charging very, very little money, we started applying the mantra that I like to say, it's time to make friends, not money. And with that, we started changing the mindset of our customers to become fully digital. As Nacho said, all ticketing platforms that were relying on old business models, they started to shift to digital, not only because of us, because of the situation. And some of the clients, I remember a call from Michelle Kajiwara from Crypto.com Arena, calling us saying, "Hey, we sell our premium spaces that cost a lot of money in person. What do we do right now? We need to renew that client base that generates hundreds of millions of dollars for us. How do we do it?" And obviously we said, "Hey, can we create something digital for you?" And she was like, "I'm super scared, because if it doesn't work, I'm going to lose all those premium clients." And we tried together as partners, as I said before, and it worked out really well. The reality is, right now, a lot of NBA teams, they do these, and they don't sell those premium spaces physically anymore. They just showcase them online, they prepare it, they launch it over a period of different weeks. And in this sense, payment platform become more modern, more robust, security, and all those protocols. And right now, we can proudly say that we survived as partners, and here we are with, as you said, in a new era where physical tickets, they don't exist anymore. We have been reducing friction, we have been reducing waiting times, and we are creating new business models thanks to that evolution. So I believe the pandemic has been playing well in that regard. Obviously, they impacted on some other businesses, but we can only say that thanks to that, we've been able to evolve to where we are right now.
it's fascinating, Francis. All of us have been talking about applications and engagement and community, and you actually spoke about human relationships.
Yep.
Not only internally, but also externally. It's a beautiful line.
Yep.
It's,
Yeah.
Were you and your co-founder aligned? Was that quick to align in terms of we're going to look after ourselves? How did I want to double click on that a bit. How did that come around? Because that's a very empathetic way of doing a business. I run businesses. Payroll is tough.
It was challenging. It was challenging indeed. So I always claim that if you when you have your own business, if you don't have the right companion, and this person is not a very good person, and your team is not prepared for that, then you're going to fail. And luckily for me, I'm surrounded of very, very passionate and very nice persons, and that's what's helping us, be where we are right now.
Fascinating. I've been given the sort of last 10 minutes, last 5 minutes signal, so we're going to have to be quick, I guess, about this. But do want to sort of try and look ahead. I'll give you 2 different timelines, and then you can sort of talk about what is the one thing that you wish we will speak about this time next year in your space, industry, as the case might be. And what do you think it might be like in 2030? You can answer both, you can pick one, whichever order you like. I'll leave it to you guys. Nacho, you have that smile on your face.
I think the real revolution, if I may, and when it comes to fun experience, it will be in the real remote virtual fun experience. Now, when we talk about fun experience, it's always a mix between, okay, you go to the stadium, you make your day, of course you have digital access, but the revolution will come, and I think Fran mentioned before that in the stadium you have 100,000 people, okay, but you have hundreds of millions, that they can really enjoy, and we need to change the perception and how they can really be integrated in the events. And I think, and these guys they will play, I'm sure, a role there.
You know that as part of this panel, all of us get warrants in your business. Otherwise, I'm not coming here.
I really appreciate that.
Let me go Imran, and then go to Mike, and then go to Francis to wrap up. Imran, what's your take of what lies ahead, or what do you expect or hope for?
Yeah, when it comes to Tamil FC, next 2 years we're gonna be in the top of the league in India. So currently, there are broadcasters to telecast matches. There are a lot of platforms. Apart from that, we want to have our matches in OTT platforms as well. That's a heads up we are taking. So once we are, as a club, in the top of the country, we want our matches to be broadcasted where fans around the world, our community are based out in India, okay, fine, but fans around the world of our community should watch our matches. So we want to facilitate them through the OTT platforms like Netflix, Hotstar, or Amazon, have an exclusive partnership with them. We are on the table working on it currently, because my partner of the club is a film producer.
Excellent.
So we have a sports and entertainment company which is based out in Dubai, so where we produce also movies. So we are expertise on that. Now we want to create content into football as a movies, also as when it comes match broadcasting or telecasting, we want to have it in the OTT platforms.
So before I come to Francis and then Mike, you produce sport, you produce academies, you produce movies, but I believe you want to share something with the audience, that you're producing something else also. You were saying that you want to show the audience something that you're producing? You want to share some news, you were saying, with the...
Yeah, it's for the next season we have our club team coming up. So we have partnered with Adidas for the MENA region in India.
Fantastic.
So we have our away jersey to be launched along with my panel members here.
Excellent. Bring it on. Bring it on.
Yeah.
Why be shy? He's done the deal. Mike has left Nike, so that's fine. So we can talk about Adidas.
Yeah.
There you go. So this is a global launch, global first.
So, yeah.
Yeah, lovely.
I want
fine.
you guys to just...
We'll just do that. We'll do that at the end of this. I just want to give you your moment of glory, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, sure.
I do want to go to Francis and Mike so we can wrap the panel up. Then we can take a photograph.
And this is our away jersey of Tamil FC for 2025 and 2026 season.
Very nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Francis, I'll come to you, then I'll finish up with you, Mike. What do you expect, hope for, want to believe is going to happen this time next year, or
so
2030?
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I think we were discussing this before this panel started. But I appreciate that you guys are aware what Apple, with Real Madrid announced about the Infinite Stadium. If you check on my LinkedIn, I was just talking about this a couple of hours ago. we have been invited to some of those conferences a couple of years ago when the metaverse was spiking and all that, and we were talking about the concept of the infinite stadium. And every time I was on stage and presenting these, everyone was saying, hey, what is this guy saying? Infinite stadium for what? You know, so the concept of having the physical stadium where you have fans, but then infinite versions of those stadiums where they can sit virtually at a particular seat and follow the match from that particular angle. So this is what's coming. So we were announcing this. We still believe that this is going to come, and I believe that this is how the evolution of the OTTs or the virtual replays and all that, they are going to blend into an ecosystem where fans all over the world are going to be able to not only watch but also interact between them and have their opinions about a particular match. So that's how we see it. We'll see.
Facebook meets the cinema meets 80,000 people.
Exactly.
In the stadium. Fascinating. Mike, the last word.
Yeah, for us, next year it will be very much a continued growth against our core endemic esports audience. But I think one of the things that we're pushing at and we're really interested to do is to broaden that much more to a mainstream audience. And so that's one of the areas that we're focused on, is how do we create content and experiences that are going to be able to satisfy that audience and really engage them and bring them into the world of esports. I just lost. Oh, back.
I thought that was a polite suggestion for us to go, but carry on.
There we go. Okay. Very subtle. And then the long term is really how do we engage people, bring them into the experience live during the course of these experiences? Because still it's very much a consumption. How do we make it much more of a play-along engagement experience?
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and your insight and your intellect. I really appreciate you taking the time and giving the audience a very riveting half an hour. If I give you the panel, thank you very much.